Yeah, do you have anything? I've got a book.
Good morning and welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Podcast. I am Becky Alley filling in for Mr. Harry Gallant. He's normally our leader, but he is in, where is he at again?
Somewhere.
His daughter's in Israel playing for the USA hockey team. So it's a really
wow.
But I'm pumped to be filling in his shoes. We got 30 minutes on the Hardcore Mortgage Podcast. We're going to punch you in the face with all that is happening in this market. But before we get to that, let's talk about this amazing panel I have with me today. We got the one and only Mr. Harvey Freed.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody.
And my fellow top 1%er, John Kolb.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here.
And last but not least, I'm super excited for our guest today. You're talking about two powerhouse women, not only in real estate, but in life in general. They're literally going around changing lives, both in the industry and out of the industry with these little events that they're doing. They're not little events when I say that, they're actually big events, very empowering events. So without further ado, we got Ms. Amber Yacklin, we got Kristen Bond from Thrive Realty, and we're really excited to have you guys on.
Thanks, you guys. Hi.
So cool. So I want to get right into it with you guys because you guys are bringing the heat, you're bringing the fire, and you're bringing like the knowledge, right? And we just were talking about right before we get on here. First of all, let's give a shout out and snaps to Amber's hair. Because normally I'm all about her eyebrows, but today she's got some vivacious hair. And Kristen, I want to say this right now. You coming into my life has been one of the biggest blessings. You were like, as soon as I met you, we instantly connected. You're such a good person. You have such a beautiful soul. So welcome. And we all can't wait to hear what you have to say. So in regards to the market, we're talking like we are coming in like 11 years of a seller's market. And we're looking at rates that are now hitting circa 2006. So right now we're at, in the sixes, depending on what your credit score is, maybe high fives, we can make that happen. And there's a lot of talk as far as there's a shift in the market. And I hear a lot of people talking about this shift as if it's a negative connotation. And I personally don't feel that it's a negative shift, but I do want to hear your guys' take, Amber. We'll start with you, Amber, Kristen, and kind of what your vibe is on that.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. I believe that some people are very fear-based in a shift, or they are concerned about a shift, or what is that going to look like? And I've seen nothing but positive come of it. So a couple things. One, we've got the interest rates going up. That's just bound to happen. We can't live at 1 and 2 interest rates forever, right? And I think a lot of buyers, maybe like that have been looking the last couple of years, they've been in these super competitive markets. And yeah, the interest rate looked really great on paper, but how are you going to get a house in a market with super low inventory when 40, 50 people are running through and writing offers on it, right? So a 5-6%, even 7 is not something to be afraid of. First of all, that's very normal. That's how I bought my house. That's still less than a lot of people have bought their houses. So it's not looking at the interest rate. What do we say? We're don't marry the rate, marry the house, right? I love that kind of tagline. Becky, I saw you put that out on social media, and it's such a smart move, right? Because we've got now inventory is going to start creeping up, and we're going to have houses available for all these people who didn't want to sell their house, who didn't have a place to go. They're going to have a place to go now, which means your dream house is just a few weeks away from hitting the market.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, to kind of talk about that, the reason why it's so resonant right now in this market is I bought my first house in 2006, right? It was right before the Great Recession and all these things. And we'll get into like if the housing market's going to crash, but my rate was 6.25. And at that time, that was a really, really good rate because it was coming down off of these 9% interest rates, 8% interest rates. And it was a good deal for me to get 6.25. And I held on to that rate, and opportunities to refinance that came around. And, and that's the thing that people with the buyers right now, you're not looking for your forever loan, right? You're looking for your forever home. And most people, they move within 5 years, right? How many people really stay in their home for 30 years? I'm not saying people don't do that, but people don't hesitate to think about, okay, well, I'm buying now and I'm going to sell because something happened in 5 years, but they really, really stress themselves out about a rate when if they're going to move in 5 years anyway, it's arbitrary.
And it's a win-win, right? Like you're either going to move and find that next house and put your new equity into that next house, or you're going to stay long enough to see another dip in interest rates. You're going to refi. If you're like me, you're going to do a cash out refi and fix up your house like you never dreamed you'd be able to when you first bought, and actually add more equity into your house. There's no losing scenario in the housing market right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. John, like, what are you seeing as far as like your offers that are getting accepted in comparison? Because there definitely was a huge shift over the last 6 months, right? Both rates and, and how it's affected the inventory. Are you seeing those tougher transactions that were getting passed on, like seller concessions, FHA? Are those kind of standing out a little bit more now for you?
FHA is starting to get accepted, but I don't see many seller concessions right now. In fact, I'm coming across a lot of, there aren't any appraisal guarantees, which is a good thing, but still prices over asking, or over listing, I should say. And, we lost out on two separate buyers, lost out on four transactions together, two each last week. Both saying that your price wasn't highest and best when they went in at the list price. So they're going over asking still, which is a good thing. I think it's still pushing the market a little bit higher, but not to the extremes that the appraisal guarantees were. So it's pushing the market a little bit higher, which we knew was going to happen when the when the GSEs set the minimum conventional loan limit at 647 this past year. We knew that all the loan amounts and all the purchase prices were going to continue to rise. They weren't going to bust in a bubble like everyone thought. So, I'm seeing that, but I'm still seeing that offers have to go in over asking for them to get accepted. And I think I see Amber and Jennifer shaking their head saying, yes, that's what they're saying. Oh, sorry, Kristen.
It's okay.
Jennifer was the client that lost out on two transactions. My apologies. So, but that's what we're seeing.
All right. What about you, Harvey? Because I'm having a little bit of different, I'm seeing things a little bit different than John is. So how about you? Like, are you seeing those tougher transactions having a shot versus just totally passed up on?
Yeah, great real estate agents were able to negotiate and get an FHA offer accepted with Mishta terms. So that sometimes is like hitting a home run out of the park to get those younger first-time home buyers accepted. They got very little money. They're FHA borrowers. Credit might not be as strong. So, yeah, we did get we got lucky on a couple of those. But boy, oh boy, $300,000 approved buyers. We got them stacked up behind me on the shelves. They cannot get an offer accepted. We've done appraisal guarantees in 10 and 20 over. We've had some cash buyers out there over and above. And we've had some, and not on these clients, but in the past, we've had some times where the second best offer ends up getting the house. So I got my fingers crossed on a few of them, though. There's no doubt that competitive marketplace between 300 and 450.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And the same time too is like with the market, it's changed so much where you have a mixed bag of things. You are seeing those FHA offers being accepted. It's not always conventional, but who's on the other end of that transaction matters. And the reason why I brought that up is because clients of mine, we had huge success. We had an FHA offer beat out a conventional for two reasons: who the buyer's agent was across the aisle, and the listing agent also knew Capital Mortgage Funding, knew myself very well. The file already had been completely underwritten. I could say that with confidence, and really all we needed was an appraisal and title work to get it done. And in her opinion, that was a better sure thing than have to deal with a lender that she wasn't exactly comfortable with. So it always goes back to, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? And in this market, with the way that it's shifting, that does help. And I do feel that the interest rates changing is not going to be an issue. If your payment, like we were talking about before, Amber, right? If your payment is up $100 more than what it was 6 months ago, that's never been the issue. When I'm talking to my clients, 9 out of 10 times, right, when you're talking to your people, it's not the payment that they're afraid of. It is, how are they coming up with this money for closing? And these $20,000, $30,000 over asking is what was making this market be completely unsustainable. So now that you're seeing these offers getting accepted at list, right? But then you're also seeing these sellers getting a little bit upset because, well, why didn't I get 14 offers over asking, right? So are you seeing some of that frustration coming out of the sellers?
I mean, I think it's about just setting expectations.
Yeah, I think that's, a lot to do with where you're at, how you're supported, where your brokerage is at with training you on how to have these discussions, because I think that there's a lot of agents that got into the business over the last couple of years because it was so easy. right?
Yeah.
When interest rates are 2%, it's not hard to get someone to buy a house. So I think, just being somewhere that's really supportive and make sure that they're taking you through those shifts and making sure that, like Amber said, how to have those right conversations and educate your clients and set the expectations. Like we're obviously more familiar with this shift than they are. So educating them through, okay, listen, yes, this is what everyone's talking about. Here's what's really happening. Here's what I need you to be ready for. Here's where we should be at and what's going to be the next steps. Should we not get the number that, we think the market might allow us to? And really just being prepared for those conversations and setting expectations with your client right from the beginning, right? So with a seller, they don't think, oh, I'm going to have 50 offers within 2 hours and, all the things we just talked about, all the crazy appraisal guarantees that were happening. Are there over asked offers still? Yes. Is it as many as there were before? I don't think so. It's starting to settle, I guess is the right word, right? It's not so inflated and so over and big guarantees and stuff like that.
Yeah. And here's the thing for sellers. We live in a day and age where buyers and sellers, like, information is a commodity. They can see a great radio show or podcast show from Hardcore Mortgage, or they can watch us on social media, give them this information, and they can educate themselves fairly easily. As per, like, even a few decades ago, you really had to rely solely on what your lender or your agent was telling you, right? And so what I've been telling my sellers, and they're feeling the shift too, buyers are, sellers are, like, the consumer is informed. However, what they're not informed with is, what did it look like on the back end of that transaction with 40 offers? Okay, 3 might have been fantastic, out of the park, cash, or guaranteed appraisals, or somebody just had more cash equity ready to throw down to make that a sweet offer. But the other 37, they were garbage offers. People were still trying to write under asking, or they were asking for concessions, plus being, like, not as desirable of an offer, like in multiple ways. Or unfortunately, your agent was really writing the offer in a way that wasn't communicating what you were trying to offer. Picking the right agent actually matters, right? Picking the right lender actually matters. People don't want to see some, like, big name, we try to push anybody through on a lender. They want to see someone's name at the other end that they know and that they trust and that they know is going to get them to the closing table. Because you can write whatever you want on paper, but if people weren't bringing that actual cash to close for appraisal guarantees, like, suddenly, oopsie, I lost $10,000 I didn't really have. Oh, I didn't check to make sure that the money was in the bank along with your pre-approval. Then, when things like that started falling through the cracks, you didn't have 40 great offers. But we love to post about that on social media, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh, my listing got 40 offers. Ooh, look at me, big show. And so that's what, sellers need to know. So at the end of the day, great offers will still come in. We are still in a great market to sell, if not better now, because people are able to find homes to move into as well.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that you brought that up. So 2 things that you said I want to kind of go back before we move on to the buying and contingent and things like that. But you're absolutely right. There was a lot of offers coming on some of these, and some of them were absolutely trash, or people were putting up these guarantees, finding out they might have to put up that money, and then finding ways to back out of these transactions. So that's why when Harvey was mentioning sometimes that backup offer would be the more enticing one, is maybe they weren't that highest and best, but they were serious and they were willing to come up with that money because someone else really wasn't, right? So all that stuff matters. And I do think that what you're talking about, we're going to start seeing a little bit more inventory with the sellers now looking to buy. They don't feel so panicky about not being able to find a place to go. So we'll talk about that a little bit.
So I've got a few families, right, that have been kind of like waiting it out. And so you're going to, in my opinion, and I've always shared this, is that everybody has a life event to move. I don't think people just move for funsies. I always tell people that, like, no one's just like, I feel like doing today.
They're like, I think I'll just move today. It's no big deal.
I'll just pack up all my stuff, move out of my house, move into a new house, right? Like, there's always a life event that happens in real estate, unless you're an investor, right? And then yes, money matters, or the market matters and things like that. So, but for your everyday average, like first time buyer, second time buyer, families, empty nesters, people get divorced, people get married, people's kids move out, people get pregnant. I mean, there's always, people pass away. and inherit houses that they have to sell. I had 7 deaths this year that I was helping to navigate through with real estate market, right? So like the life event's always going to be there. And so what's happened is some of these, people who are looking to upgrade their house, their features, their benefits, things like that, they were able to wait. They were like, you know what I see on the market right now is not available. I don't want to go compete with a whole bunch of other people. So I'm just going to wait it out. And I'd rather wait and have a higher rate on my new mortgage than go try to throw a bunch of cash at competitive offers, right? Or multi offers on a house. So now, because we're seeing this shift and houses are spending more than 48 hours on market, 7 days, oh my gosh. They're able to say like, okay, now I'm ready to talk about listing my house. So they're going to up that inventory, find a great new place with those features and benefits. And guess what? All those 300, 400,000 sitting on the shelf people, they're going to start seeing those houses come on market and they're going to start finding their houses. So it's really, I think, going to balance things out.
Yeah, I agree with that. What's up, John?
So I love what Amber just said. I mean, we say this all the time, that if you are basing your purchase ability on 2 and 3% and can't afford 4, 5, or 6%, you should not be a homeowner. I'm sorry, but there are other costs that come up with owning a home that a couple $100 a month is going to cause you to not be able to afford that home. Then don't get into a home. So I agree wholeheartedly with what Amber's saying that, I don't want to be in that bidding war. I'm going to wait it out. The interest rate going up, it doesn't scare me, because you know what? In the end of the day, we can bring you back and refinance you and get you a lower interest rate. That's just part of the game. That's how we do things. Yes, we get you in a higher interest rate. Harvey and I think Becky were in the industry in the year 2000, writing mortgages at 9 and 9 1/4. And it's just, it's just one of those things. You know what happened the next year? They came down to about 7.5. Then they came down to about 5. And so you're just, what Harry likes to say and Dan Burke likes to say, flipping pancakes, just helping people get from a higher rate down to a lower interest rate. And that's part of this business. It's part of owning a home. It's part of good financial education and making sure you understand how everything's going to work. You're not always going to see appreciation in the stock market of 10%. Sometimes it's going to be 5%. Sometimes it's going to be 3%. So you have to know when to be in and when to be out, and trust your team. Like you should always trust good real estate agents and good mortgage people.
Yeah. And like, even to that point though, too, but that's why like working with a local experienced person, both agent and lender, it matters, because we've seen these markets before. We're in another cycle. You're going to have opportunities, but this is going to create another refinance boom in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? So it's definitely a good time to buy, but you hear a lot of people saying that it's not a good time to buy. They feel that way, right? So when someone's like, I'm going to wait till the housing market crashes, right? Like, what's your rebuttal for that one?
Right. Yeah.
That was my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, I bought during the housing crash. So I love when I get that answer, because I was there. I experienced it as a first-time home buyer, as did I feel like a lot of people our age at that time were buying right in that area, right? Yeah. That came with its own set of challenges. So everybody who's like, oh, cool, you're sitting on all this equity. Cool, bro. Well, I'm going to go sell my house, and what I'm going to go buy is going to be comparable for triple the price, right? So like everything's going to come with its own challenges. It's not like you're going to just be able to time that market correctly. Like John said, there's just no timing it, right? But one of the things that I always say is, the market's not going to crash. This isn't something that was created in a bubble. This is actual, like, we go back to like supply and demand. Like, I don't know what high school class I learned that in. That's all it is. Second, I think, like wherever we learned about supply and demand, that's all that was happening, right? Like there was a low supply and there was a high demand. That's going to start to balance out, but we're not going to see a sudden like, oh, like now there's all this supply. There's going to be a little bit more supply. There's going to be a little bit less demand, and it's all going to really average itself out, and that's what we're really seeing across the board. Listings are still selling. People are still putting their house up for market. They're getting over asking. If you want me to give a buyer the best piece of advice they can hear on this show today, it's stop looking for all the bright, shiny new houses that hit the market. You need to go find grandma's house, who unfortunately has passed now, and everything is original in there. You need to go buy that house. You need to go live with an ugly bathroom for 10 years. That's not the first time I've said this on the Hardcore Mortgage Show. You need to go live with an ugly bathroom for 10 years. Then you're going to refi. You're going to pull that cash out. You're going to have a pretty bathroom, a nice basement, and you're going to actually build build equity into your house. I'm telling you, go find something with some ugly blue shag carpet, do yourself a favor, rip off your old wallpaper, paint, carpet, and call it a day.
Hey, Becky.
I agree with that. Go ahead, Harvey. What's up?
I was just going to jump in and say Amber is definitely close to the Grim Reaper of all real estate agents.
The Grim Reaper.
If you got if you're about to inherit millions of dollars from your old relatives, soon to be dead, call Amber and have her
I can help you. I can help.
put her into the mix. No, I just looking at today's market and what's going on. Yeah, it's different than in years past. This inventory thing has been the problem, driving up the prices, and this leveling off market, seeing a few more listings hit. Amber, right near you and I sort of know where you live. I saw it was on the main road on Farmington, but sure enough, 3 ranches, boom, 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 all up for sale in the last 2 weeks. Ranches on the main road, but big backyards, basements, garages. Decide, have smarter conversations with the people involved. And last but not least, if I could just interject this, I've been getting some of these clickers calling me, the Zillow leads. Boy, all you real estate agents paying all this money for leads. I haven't talked to more than 1% of them that can actually get a mortgage. And I have agents driving around people. They're in the cars with them. I had a lady the other day saying that they've been traveling the United States in a mobile home, but they made $400,000 last year in income because they were looking at $500,000 houses. And I said, please send me those tax returns. Anyways, haven't got that return phone call yet. Really strange. They said they made $400,000 a year. But anyways, definitely smarter conversations and more literacy in this home purchase process is going to help you become successful.
Yeah, we're definitely really big on the education piece. I know you guys are too. And before we roll into that, I do want to say it here first and foremost. We are not in a bubble. The housing market is not going to crash. We are not in that same experience that we were 10, 12 years ago. You're talking, these are fully well-qualified mortgages. This isn't someone calling us saying, I have an 800 credit score and I make $1 million and these non-conforming loans. We never did those and we stayed away from those, but that's what got us in some trouble. People were overextended, things like that. There also was a lot of inventory on the market and people were just sitting in their homes at some time. So you're talking about supply and demand issues. There's not enough inventory in this market for the rates to have any kind of impact on the fact that all of a sudden you're going to see this huge decrease in prices. You're talking about you're going to be in a robust real estate market for at least through 2025, 2026, because over the last 10 years, not enough homes were built. So I do agree with Amber. Sometimes getting up in grandma's house, you got good bones, because some of these builders, I'm not throwing any shade, but I mean, they are slapping them up because they can't get them up fast enough. And then a year later, when it settles, you got your realtor phone, reaching out because things are happening to those.
Or flips, right? You've got just trendy things going into a home, and that's fine. If I want to move into a beautiful home, you should move into a well-made, beautiful home, right? That's all you can do. That's totally fine as well. But there's definitely something to be said about the fact that, in my opinion, if you're a seller listening to this right now and you're kicking the tires on whether you want to list your house or not, one, we need to have a conversation immediately. Kristen and I, we're a great team. We're great at educating people, and we don't want to work with people who don't want to work with us. So it's very no pressure when it comes to that. And also, you're going to see these 5-6% buyers, they're more serious.
Yeah.
You're not going to get these crap offers that halfway through, they're like, oops, I accidentally bought a house or made an offer on a house that I really can't afford. And now I'm going to try to get my way out of it. And there's going to be all these problems. What do sellers want? They want to get to the closing table, easy breezy, easy, beautiful cover girl. And that's what we want to do too. And that's what you're going to see with these buyers, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. And you're right. Not everyone is for you. And that's where you're having these conversations, these education conversations. And even if the market was to shift, why not sell your house? If you're on the fence and you think the market's shifting, you're going to wait till it becomes a buyer's market and now you're not getting as much profit. So, I mean, there's always those pros and cons to everything. So, I really don't, if someone's like, well, I'm going to wait, what are you waiting for? If it makes
So Becky, the number one thing sellers tell me, I'm going to tell you the number one thing when I'm sitting in front of them. The number one thing I hear every time I go to sign a listing, right? And that's, I've been very listing heavy this year. They go, I don't want to be homeless. It is everyone's number one fear that they are going to sell their house and not have anywhere to go. And it's funny, I've always tell people this. I have yet in 7 years for anyone to end up homeless working with me, right?
Yeah.
You ever end up homeless in 9 years?
Not, I mean, by choice sometimes.
Right.
My brother moved in with me. That was
Yes,
his choice.
like by choice, or like I'm gonna go, buy an
But not
RV and go
because
search the
he
world.
I think the thing too that, again, comes with expectations and education and all that stuff is, I think people don't realize that, like, once they actually do list the house, as serious as they might think they've been about finding a house, they actually are going to get more serious once they've listed their house, right? So they think, oh, well, I've been kind of looking and this and that, and they feel like, oh, I'm not going to find anything. But there's something that switches once they actually list their house, right? And now it's down to business time, right? Like, now you really get serious. Now you're actually putting time and effort into getting out there every day if you need to find a house. Whereas when you don't have your house listed yet, you don't feel that same commitment, I don't think. So I think that helps too, once you get them over that hurdle. And like Amber said, like, listen, I've never made someone homeless. Like, we will find you something, and they list that house and you have all your ducks in a row in the right way, right? So now you can make a strong offer, your house is already listed, all this kind of stuff. I think it makes people more serious than they think they even are.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right as far as like the contingent offers. People were hesitant. Oh, I can't buy being contingent, right? So, but it's always setting those proper expectations, right? And it's a matter of when you're having those conversations, you can structure their purchase versus their sell around them finding their homes. Because I actually have a transaction right now where we have an accepted offer, and it was accepted based off the contingency of the buyers being able to sell their home, and then the seller finding a home of their choice. It worked out for everybody in that situation.
Right.
So
That was our first deal together that we ever did. The seller was
Yay.
contingent. Yeah. It was like the first time we had ever experienced that years ago. So
hooray, not leaving people homeless.
we don't leave people homeless.
All right, before we wrap up, I want to take a moment for people to hear a little bit more about Thrive, right? Where you guys come from. What's your culture like? The message, because I know everyone gasped, right, when they heard Amber left EXP for Thrive. It was like, oh my God, what are people doing? So because you guys are doing big things, even with your side, Red Stick, the Red Stick Evolution, did I say it right?
Red lipstick revolution.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't speak today. But anyway, I do want you guys to take a moment, tell everyone about like what Thrive, what you guys stand for and all that stuff.
Yeah, so with Thrive, Jessica and Justin Woodbeck are the founders of Thrive, and they've been in the industry for a long time, and they really just looked at what the gaps were, in their opinion, in other brokerages and other offices, teams, whatever that may be, and they really wanted to find a way to stand in those gaps and fill those, real estate as well with mortgages. Like, we all know it's an industry that you could work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? And there's all this hustle culture and everything like that. And they really wanted to do things in a different way where their agents could be healthy all around, live a good, balanced life, still have time for their families, and still make a great living doing real estate without, not being home ever for dinner or missing soccer games or all that kind of stuff. So they've really built a really unique brokerage culture. It's something like, I've been in the industry almost 10 years. It's something that I've never experienced before. They've really just created something really special where I tell them all the time, I see now why they called it Thrive, because I always want to say, like, an environment where people are thriving, right? They're making great money, but still having their time with their families, and they're all about giving their agents leverage and support and training to get up and running as quickly as possible. We have brand new licensed agents that are closing deals in less than 60 days. So they've just really built something really unique that helps get agents up and running. We're huge on education. We're huge on leverage. So even for experienced agents like Amber coming over to us, like giving them that leverage. So they're getting their time back, most importantly, and then it's up to them what they're doing with that time. If that means they have more time with their family that they didn't have before, great. If that means you want to double or triple your business because now you have the time to do that and you can do 2 transactions in the time you could do 1 here, great, right? It's all about giving a better all-around experience. They really believe people that are happy, healthy in life, relationships with their kids, everything like that, are going to produce more anyways. So they've just built something really, really unique that, after a while, for me and for Amber, it took her a little bit longer.
I'm a hard sell.
But at a certain point, like you just can't ignore, once you start really learning about everything.
And
you're
that was
doing and
that
what
was
it's
my
doing
thing.
for.
I couldn't ignore what I saw Kristen. I mean, like, again, you're going to joke about the word thriving in. Like, I knew Kristen in the industry before we were even close friends, right? Like, we were just two realtors who happened to know each other. And she's seen my career. I've seen her career from the outside looking in. And there was just a difference that happened when she came over to Thrive. And I was like, whatever is in that Kool-Aid, like, I want to jump in and start drinking it.
Yeah,
And
the Kool-Aid sippers.
I was like, something is happening over there that is more than just more business. And so even like she said, the leverage that we have, the trainings that we have, I've had brand new agents come over after I've spoken with them, and they're like, I'm so happy here. Thank you. Like, you just don't hear a lot of that in our industry all the time. And I was out on an island and I loved my island, and I built that island and I was all alone. I was doing everything myself. And then all of a sudden I looked up and I was like, I'm alone and I'm doing everything myself. And this is not sustainable. I can't grow like this.
Well, you
Right.
hit a certain point in this business where there's no possible way that you can do everything yourself.
I got this. So like, we got a couple minutes left here. And so before we wrap up our podcast today, which I want to say the Hardcore Mortgage podcast is brought to you by Fairway Independent Mortgage, MLS number 2289. We are an equal housing lender. So before we wrap up today with our amazing guests, Amber Yacklin and Kristen Bond of Thrive Realty, where can someone connect with you? And we're going to share this on our social media so that way, but how can someone reach out to you guys today if they're looking to get into Thrive?
For me, it's going to be definitely Instagram. So if you go to Red Lip Amber, very easy to remember, just shoot me a quick message. You'll see my link in bio. We've got more information there as well about Thrive Realty Co.
So
All right, yeah, and I couldn't say red lipstick. I don't know why I was struggling so hard saying red lipstick revolution. So we're gonna wrap it up. Good.
You actually went with red lick evolution. I think you said.
I don't know what I was saying.
It was something, but it's the Red Lipstick Revolution, which is also on Instagram. And for all my female entrepreneurs, you can follow us on there as well.
Yes, and I will advise that if you're not still following them on socials, you need to. They are powerful. They are impactful. I've been a part of a couple of their past events. I'm going to be coming on for a couple of their future events. So definitely look them up. I'm really excited. So right now we're going to wrap it up. So you can catch us this Saturday on the Hardcore Mortgage pod or the radio show. We're going to have Mr. Justin Ford on as our guest, and we're going to have Amber and Kristen on in the radio show with us very, very soon. That's going to be announced shortly. But in the meantime, we hope everyone is having a beautiful Wednesday. Make it a positive day, and we will see you next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel.